Hello, this is a recording of a live session from Spark 2021. We hope you enjoy it. Good afternoon. Spark 2021 is coming to an end. To close the conference, I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to Matt Weston, our local MP and avid supporter of the local arts. Over to you, Mr. Weston.
Well, thank you, Bronwyn. Thank you, everyone. I'm absolutely delighted to be joining you this glorious, sunny Warwick and Leamington afternoon. And can I thank the organisers for the invitation to speak to you. It's I really miss, as I'm sure all you do, being in the same space. You know, just one thing I have always valued is just being amongst others and discussing things, ideas, thoughts, whatever, maybe even politics, and but just being in that same space and being so distant, so remote from you, I struggle with, and it's a very weird thing because I don't know how many of you there are out there, but of course there's no energy. And one of the great things I've always felt by these sorts of events, these sort of conferences, is just how much energy you can get from it, how much the sharing of ideas, of thinking that we can all gain from. Anyhow, here we are. It's the end of your 5 days. I mean, it's an extraordinary achievement, 5 days for a conference such as this. And here am I, sort of addressing an audience rather like after a heavy lunch, although I'm not sure any of us can recall those. It's always the tough slot speaking at the end of a conference, and particularly so when you've not been able to be present for any part of it. And I'm sorry about that, but just being in Parliament this last week has been very intensive. So it feels like I'm connecting with you via some sort of virtual reality or augmented reality headset, and that I'm treading through the unknown, which is a real shame because, as I say, this is a terrific initiative, and one that I was actually talking with creative leaders among you about several years ago, and several of you will confirm. I always imagined that we could do this, to bring people together from a multitude of creative sectors to harness the energy of that creative fusion. Very simply, I've long believed since 2008, when I started talking to the District Council, that we are really blessed with richness and diversity of the creative sector in Warwick and Leamington. And I'm immensely proud of the talent that we boast. Building on the success of last year, Spark is beginning to establish itself as an important event for our region's cultural sector and underlines just how vital our creative arts are to our regional economy, as well as attracting big names of bright talent to our innovative firms. Although I wasn't able to join any of the sessions, I had a look through just to see the variety and depth of contributions being made, and it was good to see that the Minister, Caroline Dinenage, came to address the event about some of the challenges facing the arts and cultural sector. But I was also, it was good to see that there was coverage given to the Coventry City of Culture programme, and also the Birmingham 22 Commonwealth Games, and really the artistic and cultural dimensions to that. Likewise, about the attracting of and retaining of talent to this area. One of the things I think we are very fortunate in is that so many people come here, whether they came for university, for college, whatever, and then wish to stay here. Or many may have gone to London or to wherever, and then choose to return here, because there is something very special about the towns that we live in. And I think it's also great that you had the chance just to have a session about the contribution that the arts make to our health and well-being, to our happiness. And that's as much important for not just the wider population, but for all of us, or all of you involved in the sector as well. So events such as Spark enable the creative minds, our creative minds, to come together, to share, to innovate, and also promote the district's unique cultural sector and the unique opportunities that it offers. Spark 2021 was intended to build upon the success of last year's conference and aims to turn creative talk into creative action and galvanize our creative business community around a common purpose, as well as promotion and the growth of the sector. And this ambition is all the more remarkable in the context of the health and economic crisis that we are living through. A crisis which has impacted on the creative sector more than many others. According to the Office for National Statistics, the ONS, the arts and entertainment industry saw a 45% reduction in monthly output in the 3 months up to June 2020 compared with the 3 months earlier, making it one of the sector's worst hit by the pandemic, and it has not recovered. This in turn saw approximately 70% of workers in the sector furloughed under the government's retention scheme, the second highest after accommodation and food services, which is, I'm sure, a little known fact. And this comes on top of the decline in public investment in the arts. Some commentators, such as the chair of the National Campaign for the Arts, the NCA, have argued that the impact of the pandemic has just exacerbated the underinvestment in the UK cultural sector, pointed to evidence provided by its Arts Index that shows public investment in arts per head of the population in England fell by 35% in the last decade. At the same time, that index shows that earned income by arts organisations from revenue streams like box office ticket sales increased by 47%. So this shift from subsidy to private income has left arts organisations and venues particularly exposed to the loss of income caused by the pandemic. Just to cite one sector, and that's the music industry, which saw a massive 76% drop in revenues. And the other, which perhaps I'm more closely acquainted with, and that is the performing arts sector, which we're blessed with in this area. The performing arts saw a figure even higher than that for the music industry, a figure more like 90%. In fact, the only part of the cultural sector to see a boost was the video games industry, with a 9% increase in turnover. All of which reminds me of that awful advert, I'm afraid, that was run by one of the government agencies that I thought really diminished the value of our arts and was quite wrong. It depicted a dancer with the not so encouraging headline that she could always retrain to work in coding. Now, don't get me wrong, coding is a terrific skill and profession, but so is our performing arts. And we should not be thinking about how we should be minimizing, diminishing our richness in our arts, in all creative sectors through this time, because they have always been not just important to us here, but also been a fabulous and powerful export and part of what may be described as Britain's soft power. Now, while the growth in gaming is very welcome, the impact on other areas is more alarming. The creative industry sector in Coventry and Warwickshire is set to shrink by nearly 50%, even though the city is preparing to become the UK City of Culture, or is the City of Culture. The number of people working in the creative industries is predicted to fall by 14%, from 14,000 to 12,000. Now that sounds terribly worrying, but having sat through my weekly call with other MPs to discuss the vaccine rollout this morning, there is real hope on the horizon. And finally, the widespread availability of rapid testing should be with us. That is why it is particularly important to discuss how the sector can be supported and how policymakers and stakeholders can assist with the recovery of the sector after one of the toughest years on record. And I very much hope that next week's budget will recognise this. Spark has provided an opportunity for connecting and reconnecting with other creatives. Freelancers in particular appreciate this opportunity to network and meet others in the same situation. It provides the opportunity for collaboration, but also the establishment of some sort of regional roadmap to reinvigorate our cultural industries. But closed since March, the recovery for music venues, theatres and live events could prove to be among the most difficult for any sector, and urgent help is needed to ease the fears of those who provide such services. These shared cultural experiences are vital educational tools, as well as being part of the fabric of our communities. So it has been a difficult year. But the challenges presented by the pandemic, as well as our exit from the European Union, has already signaled turbulence on the horizon. As we've heard, our performing artists in Warwick and Leamington have warned about the disastrous effects of losing their EU-wide touring visas and the resulting financial hit. A petition with 285,000 signatures, including more than 500 from residents in Warwick and Leamington, demanded that the government urgently returns to the negotiating table with the EU to secure touring visas and prevent the vast increase in costs companies and artists are faced with. Remember, our creative sector accounts for a staggering 12% of gross domestic product, and we need to see immediate action to save these companies and performers faced with the very real prospect of bankruptcy. And this is something that I have raised in parliamentary debate on behalf of, and with respect to rather, companies such as Motion House, who face this extraordinary challenge of how to tour in the EU. More positively, there is optimism as a result of the recognition from government that Leamington represents a huge opportunity to boost our current creative cluster, and it will make a very attractive place for the world's leading talent. So commendation to the District Council in terms of its application for funding money for high streets, which I absolutely support. And I hope that we will be successful with that in regenerating much of what is described as the old town and the potential for a new creative quarter. But we also have on our doorstep Warwick and Coventry universities, as well as Warwickshire College. And these are beacons of opportunity when it comes to boosting the creative sector. And with the support through the Creative Futures Accelerator programme, we should have every opportunity to advance with our ambition. And Spark has showcased and celebrated some of the incredible people, organisations and initiatives in the area. And our region continues to be a vibrant artistic and creative community, despite the challenges of the pandemic. So there is optimism. The so-called Silicon Spa, as we are known, is fast growing and attracting world-leading talent to our region, while also avoiding the worst effects of the pandemic overall. In fact, COVID-19 has been an incubator for the rapidly growing gaming enclave in Warwickshire. The video games industry, as I say, was the only part of the cultural sector to see a boost, a 9% increase in turnover since the beginning of the pandemic. Today, the cluster employs over 2,000 highly skilled developers across 32 studios, equated to more than 10% of the UK's game industry. And when you look at it on a per capita basis, it is probably the most intensive, the densest of all for talent across the planet. It is that strong. So I will be redoubling my efforts to speak up for Warwick and Leamington's creative sector in Parliament, while encouraging the development of the sector's next bright stars through regional education in engineering and for coding. Though the gaming sector has been one of the few to continue growing as the rest of our economy grinds to something of a halt, although I think we're now through the worst of it, it still requires support to stimulate us further. So in closing, really, I just want to say my thanks to all those involved in pulling this event together. Perhaps before I should do that, I think I'm also on the hook to make an announcement over what I understand has been the winning artwork. Is that right, Bronwyn? Or is that do you want me to bring that on at the end?
Yeah, that's right. Please, please announce. Go ahead.
Okay. So my understanding is that there is a particular artwork has been chosen by I think it was voted by the delegates who've attended the conference, and I'm delighted to announce that the winner of the most popular piece of artwork is Back to Blue with a Hint of Pink, and that's by the artist Sue Southorn, from Warwick. So congratulations to Sue. And I can say that the winner of that piece of artwork, and this was based on being the most active delegate during the course of this past week, to an aggregated score of some 50,000 points. And that is William Phillips, a photographer, and he's based in Leamington Spa. So congratulations to both William and also, of course, to Sue, the artist. And we will make sure that that gets to you. So can I just say finally, this is a terrific event. I'm very proud, not just of the constituency, but I'm particularly proud of the creative community that we are blessed with here in Warwick and Leamington. And this event, or events such as this, Spark, go so far in reassuring those who are present, who've already invested in our community, but also in terms of attracting more talent, more investment into the area. And that is so rich to have an ecosystem that draws all these businesses together, because we need collaboration. We need cooperation between our creative industries, which are so inextricably linked, to share talent and expertise, but also to come up with some of the solutions, some of the new thinking that we will need for the years to come. So despite this digital format, it is clear that the event has been more successful than last year. The platform has allowed for more interaction with speakers between delegates, and it just goes to show when you're agile, when you're able to adapt, sometimes new opportunities and even greater success can befall you. My understanding is there have been something like over 500, almost 600 delegates that have attended. There have been 20 live sessions, 9 virtual meetup sessions, and 34 hours of live content broadcast with 63 discussion boards. Amazing in terms of the statistics of just what has been put together over this 5 days. So my thanks, as I say, to all those involved, to the RSC and Compton Verney and Motion House, and others who have spoken at the events over the last few days. Thanks also to Coventry University, who sponsored the event and contributed £7,000, allowing this to be put the program online. And of course, really fundamental thanks, profound thanks to Warwick District Council's Arts section team. It's a very small group, and they have done an amazing thing in this last couple of years to pull this all together. It's going from strength to strength. So well done to David Gilding, who is the arts manager, to Jonathan Branson, Chris Jones, Bronwyn also, to Kai Pittman and to Jess White, and to anyone else I may have missed off. Well done for pulling this all together. It's a terrific success, and I wish you further success in the future. Thank you.